Another lifetime, one of toil and blood, when blackness was a virtue and the road was full of mud. I came in from the wilderness to greet your boy to form. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. And if I pass this way again, you can rest assured I'll always do my best for her, on that I give my word. In a world of steel-eyed death and men who are fighting to be warm. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Not a word was spoke between us, there was little risk involved. Everything up to that point had been left unresolved. Try imagining a place where it's always safe and warm. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. I was burned out from exhaustion, buried in the hills, poisoned in the bushes and blown out on the trail, hunted like a crocodile, ravaged in the corn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Suddenly I turned around and she was standing there, with silver bracelets on her wrists and flowers in her hair. She walked up to me so gracefully and took my crown of thorns. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Now there's a wall between us, something there's been lost. I took too much for granted, I got my signals crossed, just to think it all began on an uneventful morn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Well, the deputy walks on our nails and the preacher rides a mount, but nothing really matters much, it's doom alone that counts. And the one-eyed undertaker, he blows a bugle horn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Oh, I've heard newborn babies wailing like a mourning dove, and old men with broken teeth stranded without love. Do I understand your question, man? Is it hopeless and forlorn? Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. There's a little hilltop village, they gambled for my clothes. I bargained for salvation and they gave me a lethal dose. I offered up my innocence, but got repaid with scorn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Well, I'm living in a foreign country, but I'm bound to cross the line. Beauty walks her razor's edge, someday I'll make it mine. If I could only turn back the clock to when Godler was born. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm.
He always made sure that we had what we needed, often more than we needed. He was always finding ways that he could help. Everywhere that Mariah went to school, Walt would find a way to get in and make sure that they had no computers. We would end up with some kind of computer lab. He, at her elementary school, started with absolutely nothing, ended up with a room that had 28 working computers. He taught the 6th graders himself. I taught the 5th graders, and we made sure that we had parent volunteers to teach all the other grades. When Mariah moved on to middle school, we became active members of that school as well, and did whatever we could to help. And the same happened when she continued on to high school. If there was a need, Walter was there to fill it. He just never would say no. Unfortunately, yeah, when I would ask him what he wanted to do with the rest of his life, he never could come up with anything. He just didn't know. He was hoping something would fall in his lap, but he just couldn't seem to create any of his own future dreams, and that always bothered me a little bit. But he did it in the end. He was doing everything he could to reach out through his phone, his iPhone, which was like having his computer. He spent a lot of time on Facebook, trying to find people that he knew in his past, was talking a lot, texting and emailing with his Aunt Therese, which brought him a lot of joy in the last few months of his life. I think there was a part of him that really wanted to finally come clean, but just was always afraid that if he did, that it would all fall apart and everybody would walk away. I don't think that he ever truly believed that we cared for who he was and for the man he was, because he was genuine, he gave of himself, and he was sincere. I tried as hard as I could to make him understand that there wasn't anything that he could have done that would have made me walk away. Like I told my daughter, I want to remember him for the way that he was, and not so much the colorful stories that he shared. He was always there to help, and he was always willing to go the extra mile, and that's the Walt I want to remember. And I want to thank you all for coming out today. He would be very
You want to go next, or you want to hear a few other people?
It's up to you.
You want to hear some other first?
No, I'm happy to go. Yeah, I'm happy to go. Point that at me. So, welcome everybody. My name is Sean. I'm Walt's oldest son. I've heard a lot of colorful stories about myself over the past couple days. Some might be true, some might not be. I don't know, and that's for you guys to determine over the course of your time, you know. It came as a shock to me when Wendy called me. You know, I do genealogy for a hobby, so I've looked at my ancestry, you know, tree back here and there and everywhere in between. And there was a time when I started that where we all kind of thought Walt was already gone. You know, we thought that he just kind of faded off into the sunset because, you know, as I was sharing with some people here, there was a lot of wreckage of the past that he left down in San Diego and other places he was with. But, you know, I'm not here to talk about that or the things that went on there. I was just really pleased to hear from Wendy and you know, some folks in this room about all the contributions he's made over the past 20 years that he's been in the Bay Area. You know, he definitely had a hard time when I knew him, and it sounds like he found a cause and a purpose here that he really believed in, you know, and that he lended his you know, passion and his pride and his time and his effort into. You know, I was looking at one of these pictures over here. and I was kind of laughing. You know, we were talking about Y2K. For those of you that were part of that, God, that was like the world was going to end that day. You know, the stock market was going to crash. Everything was going to go black. The world was going to come to an end because we didn't have enough zeros behind the end, you know. And as we all know now, it was kind of funny. But, you know, I can certainly look at that picture and relate to the joy and the relief of, hey, we got through that night without too much stuff going on. You know, and then I was looking at, you know, when I talked to Wendy, she told me about the coaching of the soccer team and the building of computer labs. And that's just really special all the way around. Because, you know, the Walt I knew was not like that. It was kind of like pretty much anti that. Like, I want to go do my own thing, and I'm not going to be part of this bigger cause or this bigger organization. But, you know, he gave of himself to, you know, I would have died to have seen Walt run around. Because he was the most unathletic person I knew. And I've got some stories about myself that are pretty embarrassing as far as athleticism goes. But, you know, that man took the cake as far as that goes. So for him to run around and do some of that, it's just kind of amazing, you know. And in the computer labs, you know, one of the emails he and I exchanged just not too long ago is, I come from a computer background myself, and he was really kind of trying to critique, well, do you know how to build? Can you do the install? Because you're not a real computer tech unless you can do these types of things, is what he, you know, told me in this email. And I kind of laughed. I was like, you know, but a memory I have of my dad is something like this. We grew up with these things in our house, and they had these things called Heath kits, and you could go and assemble them yourself. So it would come with, you know, a little speaker cone and some internal wiring in the box. And I think I still have a working pair of speakers he built. You know, back, I don't know, mid-70s, you know, even before kind of my time. That, you know, he and I had an uncle that was really, you know, the erector set kind of guy too. And the two of them would always go in the garage and tinker and come up with stuff. And I think I sent this to Max last night. I don't know if it made it in, but my mom used to curse to me all the time because every flat-bladed knife, like a butter knife we had, was bent. Because he would use that as a flat-headed screwdriver to screw in the little, you know, things and all those types of, you know, deal. So, you know, I mean, you can change the location of the person. You can change, you know, the family they live with, a lot of different things. But, you know, at his core, there were definitely some things that I've seen here today that I have to chuckle about and have to laugh at. And I have to just say, you know, like I said, I'm happy that he found what he was looking for. He found the love of the family he's got here. And, you know, and whatever colorful stories, you know, he made up, you know, that was what he needed to do to cope with some of his demons of the past. And it's cool in a way because, you know, we got to come here, we got to share this today. You know, I was telling Wendy and some other folks, you know, I was in the Bay Area in 2007 working up here heavily, and, you know, I knew he was up here, and I always kind of wondered whether I was going to run into him or how things were going to work out. But at the end of the day, it was this call and this situation that brought us all together. And so I really appreciate you all coming out today to remember him and to actually, you know, put together a little shindig in his behalf. I know Wendy said he probably didn't want that, but at the end of the day, he's somewhere going, I'm glad they got together. I'm glad they're here to think about me. I'm glad that I'm the center of attention at least one last time. So, and with that, I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John. All right.
I just want to say a little
Oh,
something.
yeah, go ahead.
Me and Walt used to get into it all the time.
Say who you are.
Oh, I'm
sure.
Shirley, and I worked with Walt for like 10 years as a dispatcher. And Walt was in the other room. We would fuss so much. And but Walt really cared about me. I really feel that in my heart, you know. And I really cared about Walt. And Walt was a kind of nonchalant kind of person. He wasn't like a feeling person. You know what I mean? But if you needed something, and if you need to know something, all you had to do was ask Walt, and Walt will tell you. Walt was like, I don't know how you, I could understand how you say you don't know he was athletic, but he would rip and run through here. I mean, Walt was the fastest one here. I could not believe that Walt had a hip jump. I just thought that was so incredible, that the way he would move around, and he was so smart. You can ask Walt anything, and he would get so mad at us when we would knock the computer offline. You know, but nobody never paid no attention to Walt. We all really love Walt, and I was just really shocked to hear that he passed away. I was just really, because he always seemed so strong to me, It just seemed like Walt was gonna live forever. You know what I mean? I thought I would die before Walt because he was so strong and stuff. And he loved Wendy. And he loved Mariah so much. You guys were his life. Yeah. That's all I want to say before I start crying.
Thank you. Did you talk already? Well, who wants to go next? We don't have to go in any order.
Okay, Alvin.
Alvin.
Okay, my name is Alvin. I was a map driver for a long time, and so me and Walt started working together about the same time. And I used to go pick him up on Hayes Street every morning, and we come down here. And Walt was smart, like Cherie said. He always had an opinion. No matter what it was, Walt had something to say about it. And most of the time, he was pretty right. May not be all right, but he had some points in there. And if you needed help, like when you said Walt was there, like one time my computer wasn't working, and I live in Oakland. Walt said, "I'll come over and take a look at it." We went over there and he fixed it. And my sister's computer went wrong. She lives in Oakland. Walt came over there and fixed her computer. And he, just like helping people. And that's just like who he was. And but he was like, he was very possessive about his computer lab and stuff. And if you wanted to get on his bad side, just do something somewhere there. And he'd let you know that. And then he's the only person, him and Max, when Max come to work, no matter what Walt was doing, Max would come in, Walt would put it down, and they'd go downstairs and have their little conference. And Walt was the only one that could tell Max anything. He was, "You're wrong. It's not like that. I don't believe you." And Max would just stand there and nod, and then he'd have his turn. But they were really great friends, and that's what friends are when you can tell your truth and still be friends when it's over. And so, when Max told me about Walt, he touched me in such a way till I just really had to come to express what I felt for him. So I'm sure he's in a better place and looking down on all of us. Thanks.
Thank you, Alvin. Yeah, Janet?
Yeah, so I have a lot of memories about Walt. And one of the things that Walt would do is he'd march into my office and he'd say, "We got a problem."
Everybody knows who Janet is.
I'm the executive director of Picts. But he had this drama about him. And it was like, "Ooh, what's going on now?" And I just say, "Okay, well, just tell me about it." And we kind of walked through it. And I'd say, "Well, this is what I think you should do." He'd say, "Oh, okay." And then off the door he'd go, and it would be fine. But there was always this big about the whole thing. He was so loyal to Cats, and so loyal to me, frankly. I could count on him. If I needed him, and it was usually in a big crisis, Walt was there. So I met Walt when I first came, 1999. He was, I think, a dispatcher back at MAP. And we had a big crisis. Our computers went way down. And we had this contractor, Marin contractor. And Walt always thought that they didn't know what they were doing anyway.
Idiots.
And they could do it much better. And the reality was that he was there. So I needed somebody that could be just there at the moment and could move on it. And I couldn't get a hold of them. And they were costing us $10,000 a year and probably for nothing. So what happened was he got us through that crisis. And he got us through the Y2K crisis. And he got us through many, many crises. I'm not a techie. He called me a Luddite. I do him a Luddite. There's no question about it. I make no apologies. So I was calling him all the time. And my computer would go down. My emails would disappear. I lost all of my documents many, many times. He always found a way to get them back. He resurrected them. Voila, and there it was. And, I also had a computer at home. So Walt would come out and he would help me with that. And I'd put him on the train. So, so we were back and forth all the time. When I needed help with my iPhone, he was the person that taught me how to do it, and he was the person who fixed me up when I was traveling, so that I had roaming. And yeah, he was just a good guy, and always there. And we had many, many conversations. I mean, I love somebody that can converse, and Walt loved that. And he loved to philosophize, and so we would go off on these tangents with these big talks, and you know, I mean, that was just joyful to me, because there wasn't a whole lot of other people who would do that. So I think you know, he certainly leaves a hole, and I certainly will miss him. And I know everybody in this room feels the same way. And, you know, I certainly was aware of his dedication to you, Wendy, and also to Mariah. I watched Mariah grow up, so felt very much like a part of your lives. So again, you know, I wish him well. I'm sure he's at peace at this point. I used to worry about him a lot with his breathing and all of that kind of thing, and so I'm glad that there are no more worries about that.
Thanks, Shannon. All right, thanks, Ken. Anybody got a burning desire?
Dad.
Oh?
Well, no, wait, usually you wait till I say something again. No, go ahead. Because then you can just say, yeah, what he said.
Yeah, my name is Marco. Walter was a dispatcher, like everybody said. Walter was something else. At that time, Walter didn't have no office, but I had one. He used to say, come to my office, Marco. He means come in my office so you can talk to me about what happened. Your dispatchers, your drivers, you know, he's Walter. That's Walter. The computers, oh, Walter. Everybody done something ugly in their lives. Walter done something real excellent in his life, maybe with family, whatever. But it put him on the right track. And that's what we all try to do, get on the right track. So Walter, couldn't find out right now, he's just giving back. He got a lot of love and a lot of skills to pass around and give everybody, make people happy and stuff. Just don't mess with that computer. Lights went off, Walter panicked. But he loved cats. He liked to do his job. He loved his family. I think that's what kept him going, kept him buzzing around, because he kept himself busy. He kept himself positive. And I'm going to miss our talks, because he usually take me in my office and tell me what's wrong about such and such. I used to hate to say, oh Lord, something's wrong with my computer. I have to ask Walt. Oh, when I just like fix it, and then if I try to fix it, I mess it back up and say, oh Walter, somebody did something. What did you do this time? So yeah, I'm gonna miss Walter, and we all love Walter. Walter put in 102% at the job, and sounds like he did that at home as well. So, Walter, miss Walter.
You want to say something now, Mariah?
Yeah. Get it over.
Go ahead.
Thanks. I mean, what I meant was,
You're ready, go ahead.
you're ready, in a good way.
I remember going to the Christmas party. This kid said so much to him. He wanted me to be a part. I vividly remember coming and you guys giving me a little dollies and then I felt I'm just like you when building speakers, and he taught me how to build computers, because not only did he do it for people like who needed help, he would give computers to people who needed computers. So we would always be building computers to give away in an auction or give to somebody in need. He just really loved everyone. And I know he had his own problems, but he wanted to make sure that I grew up knowing not to dwell on the past, and that the past isn't as important as the future. Not to worry about the past. Worry about the present and the future, because you don't know what's going to happen. It's better to worry about that than dwell on the things you did in the past.
I'm just going to say a few quick words. I am Wendy's mother and Mariah's grandmother, and Walter was wonderful to them. He was devoted to them, and I appreciated that so much. And I will miss him too, because I know he leaves a big hole. And I remember him mostly when we'd be at gatherings. He's always looking at his phone, but if you started to say anything, he'd pop in with you, you know. He'd think he wasn't paying a bit of attention, you know. But anyway, I feel too that he got to let go of the body that was giving him so much difficulty. And so he's pain-free now, and that is good. And I knew he was devoted to cats as well as Wendy and Mariah, and he did talk about it all the time. And he did give of them, so. And as I say, I was so grateful to how much he loved my daughter and granddaughter.
Thank you, Gloria. Well, I guess I'll see if I can add to what's already been put out there. My name is Max Happenstall, and I first met Walter back when we were both, he had moved into the Arlington Hotel, cleaning sober housing. This is way 94, maybe 95, but 1994. And as soon as I met him, he became my computer guru. I was just getting into computers at the time. The first thing I really want to say is that even with all these revelations of so much of the story that Walter had been telling all of us were, fantasies of some sort, I realized that it doesn't change my heart about Walter. That's just, he was a flawed character. So am I. So are the rest of us as well. And it still doesn't change just the fact that he, on the whole, he was a positive influence in my life and the life of so many of us here. Maybe, hopefully, even in, his sons, whom he hadn't seen for so long. Somewhere along the way, if you're getting something of just what he was that may be of value for you as well, Sean. And well, I guess I could say he was my best friend, and I think I was his best friend as well. Unless you could, of course, count Wendy and Mariah. Besides what he did for me, and I really appreciated a lot. I could see what he was doing for Wendy and Mariah, especially Mariah. Also, I just want to say a little bit, just get off Walter a minute, and just say, Mariah, you have turned out to be such a lovely young lady. It blows me away. Yes. I am so impressed by you, and I think that your dad, you started calling him your dad. You said, my dad this, my dad that, and I think he had something to do with that, with you. So, I think you can be proud of him, and I understand your gratitude. So, thank you, Mariah. I just wanted to put a shout out to you. Okay, so. Well, I haven't really got cheered up about Walt, but I am cheered up a little bit about Mariah. But anyway, it's all right. I am I have to admit, in the back of everything else, I have some tremulation about going forward and my responsibilities to CAT's IT here without having be able to call Walt up like just about every day. He was my, he was really, what I know about computers and networks, which is my job now, is I learned from Walt. I was his supervisor, but mainly I was his assistant, his trainee, and I had to step up when he hurt his hip again, and he couldn't. He ended up having to telecommute. He was doing that very effectively. He was still, on hourly with us until just this last October. In which time, at one point, he did retire, but he still worked for us because he immediately became a consultant. And I was using him, I was calling him, there may be a couple of days would go by when I wouldn't call him about something. And there were some major things going on with the company, getting some fiber optic connection with our internet and our IP phones and so forth. And that was a big project that Walt had been trying to kind of push CATS to do for a number of years, and so it was sort of like his baby in a way. And well, I guess now I'm the mother, or the mother and father now that Walt's not here. So, but I just have, like I was telling some folks here, I find myself, I'm looking for that inner Walt in me somehow, That tells me something about his value as a human being. I'm trying to find him in me in that way. And, there's an attitude he had. It wasn't just his technical skill. He was like, you might say that kind of the way he approached things was sort of like chaotic and like all over the place. But Walt was always, another way to say that is he was very good at exploring the range of possibilities, and I could get a different, even when I just couldn't, I had to look at things a different way, or maybe I had another thing to say about it, I still, that viewpoint just really informed me and kind of stimulated me. So I kind of said a lot of what I wanted to say when I went ahead and made up the bio and the little program there, tried to. I think I kind of put my cast on what the value that he had for our company, for CATS, which is the CATS family, and CATS is a family. I've been with CATS since 1991, longer than anybody, and I felt like Walter is, and he. If I felt I was, I loved CATS as a family for me. Walter was like, it was like automatic. It was like, it was almost like patriotism or something with him. He was, he was very devoted, and he just, he was a pain in the ass sometimes. But you knew that he cared, He'd screw up, but he wasn't ever trying to hurt anybody here, and he especially was always looking out for us. He was looking out for his CATS family, and it looks like he was looking out for, his coworkers all, feel that way, that he was looking out for them. He would just jump in automatically and start. He was figuring out things that would work for your situation. He would, whether he was, even if it was not necessarily something he was an expert on, still he would do it. It's like, Sean said, he was still doing that. He was still interested in everything and wanting to discuss everything, all the cultural stuff, the political stuff. We got into some wild discussions that really got way beyond the technical things. Maybe that's enough. I'm glad that I had him in my life, and also that I've got you folks here who were close to Walter and his family. So I want to thank you all very much.
And thank you, Matt, for pulling us together. It's wonderful.
Is there anyone else who wants to say something? Or?
Walt, the club just gave you a big member.
Yes.
Everyone. And I started with Cats a little later. I started with Cats actually in 2007. I didn't become full permanent until 2008, but my first day coming in after my interview, when they told me my first start date, Walter, I was coming up the stairs, Walter stopped me, he said, "You're that new guy." He said, "I want you to know I run this place, I'm the guy. I'm the guy that does the computer stuff, and they got a few people that's gonna tell you some stuff, but you listen to them, but you come and question me about it. Some of them until I give it to them, because they're idiots all of them." He said, "But I don't want you to be that way, I want you to last in here." And so, you know, I'd go to Walt, I come in, and I go in there, I say, "Well, I'm here today, Mr. Walter, so what would you like for me to do today?" He said, "Well, you got that guy, Mark, oh, idiot out here. He's gonna want you to do some things, and some of those things you do, but you just tell him, hey, I got it. Because he's gonna try to send you on some wild runs," which was true. You know, he would try to get you caught up in a bunch of stuff just to see how you respond, because he liked to know that his drivers was able to work on their feet and think at the same time. And so, you know, I really came to appreciate Walt and work real well with him, and I felt like I was really close to him as opposed to some of the other employees, because he didn't talk to all of them the way he did with me as far as I could see. And so, you know, once we moved over here, he had me in there helping me put the stuff together. So one day he heard me, because that's when I had decided to go back to school myself, and I was applying for universities and whatnot. He said, "Well, you know, you're doing about it the wrong way. Let me help you out. I'm gonna send you over here. Here's a list." He gave me a list of things to go over to the Best Buy and talk to the tech person over there and come back and bring it to him. He said, "Don't even open it. Just bring it on up here and set it in the office. Tomorrow I'll start it and you can pick it up." And he set up my system and everything on my little laptop and this and that. And then he told me, he said, "Well, you know, that University of Picts, I heard that's the one you like." He said, "It's a much better school. You can go there and you can work and you'll be in the classroom, but you'll also be working online." He said, "But you told me you want to deal with online with folks. I don't think you're ready for that. You're an idiot. You know, you don't know anything about it. And I can't do the work for you. All I can do is show you how to go about it." So he was right. I left Post and I'm walking now over at the University of Phoenix doing classes and the computer thing. But, you know, I'm going to miss him, because I'm not going to be able to call him and question him about the difficulties I'm having now. You know, and you know, I'm going to really miss Walt. When Max called me about it, it was like, it was a hard blow. My fiance, she's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "I feel like I lost my dad again." You know, because that's the way he felt to me. You know, he felt like a large guidance. You know, like he really wanted you to go right down the right road. You know, there's a bunch of side tracks and this and that, but I'm gonna keep you on the right road. Just listen to me. Don't worry about them sideways. You know, and that's the way it was. You know, straight forth, direct, and send you in that direction. And he loved doing it. You know, I mean, it wasn't something that he had to do or even asked most times. He just stepped right in. And handled it. And so, you know, I'm really going to miss Walt. Miss the opportunity to be able to communicate with him, because, you know, all the people here at Cats, even though me and Max really got real close, Walter's the only one that, since I've been going, I talked to. You know, that I reached out to, not someone that called me, but that I had reached out to, you know, and he was like, "Well, you know, I can't get over there. Max is messing up, but don't let him know that." I don't know what they're going to do. You know, Max is going to destroy the whole system. I said, "You know, Max is really good. He's learning. He's got you to lead him, and he's going to get it." So I just hope you got it, Max.
I hope so too.
That's all Cat's got is you to look at now. And I know Janet, she's fearful. Her best Cat's friend is gone.
Yeah.
You know? And thank you guys for listening.
Did something for me that very few people ever did. And what he did was he supported me through a really hard time. And he stood by me, and he never wavered, and he stuck up for me. And I just always remember that he was one of very few people that did that. And it meant so much to me at the time. Of course, he's always fixed our computers. He fixes, everybody's computers. But the amount of loyalty and the amount of dedication that he showed me